People whose first relationship was very long-term. What weird thing did you believe was normal until you started seeing other people? I dated my first boyfriend Jake for 13 years straight, from freshman year of high school until I was 28. That's basically half my life. And during all those years, whenever we'd get into any kind of fight, whether it was about doing dishes or where to eat dinner or even stupid stuff like which Netflix show to watch, Jake would just stop talking to me completely. I'm talking dead silence. For hours sometimes. Other times it would go on for days. No explanation, no nothing. Just total radio silence until I eventually caved and apologized, even when I knew I wasn't wrong. I'd sit there wondering what I did, replaying every word in my head, trying to figure out how to fix it. This happened constantly. If I forgot to pick up milk from the store, silence. If I wanted to hang out with friends instead of staying home with him, silence. If I disagreed with literally anything he said, boom, silent treatment. And I thought this was just what couples did when they were mad. Like this was the normal way to handle arguments. Jake would sit right next to me on the couch watching TV, acting like I didn't exist. He'd make himself dinner and not make me any. He'd answer his phone when friends called but pretend he couldn't hear me when I said his name. It was like I'd become invisible until I broke down and said sorry. The worst part was that I started thinking I was crazy. Like maybe I really was wrong about everything. Maybe I was too sensitive or demanding or whatever, so I'd always be the one to apologize first, even when he was clearly being ridiculous. I'd bring him coffee in the morning and say sorry for whatever made him mad, just to get him to acknowledge I existed again. When we finally broke up when I was 28, honestly, I felt this huge wave of relief, but I didn't really understand why until I started dating again about a year later. That's when I met Ryan at my friend's birthday party. He was funny and actually listened when I talked, instead of just waiting for his turn to speak. Our first real fight happened maybe 2 months in. I'd promised to pick up groceries on my way home from work, but completely forgot because I was swamped with this project deadline. Ryan texted asking about dinner, and I realized I messed up. So I did what I always did with Jake. I went completely silent. I sat on my couch that whole evening just waiting for Ryan to figure out he should come over and apologize, or at least ask what was wrong. I was mentally preparing for however many days of silence this would take. Maybe he'd text me in a few days asking if I was okay. Maybe he'd show up with flowers next week. But around 8 that night, Ryan just called me. Not texted, actually called. And when I answered, he sounded genuinely confused. He was like, "Hey, are you okay? You haven't responded to my texts and you seem upset about something. Can we just talk about whatever's going on?" I was so thrown off. I mumbled something about how I thought he'd be mad about the groceries and that I was giving him space to cool off. There was this long pause, and then Ryan said something that completely blew my mind. He said, "Kara, why would I be mad? And even if I was, why wouldn't we just talk about it instead of playing some weird guessing game?" I tried to explain how this was just what people did when they were upset. You stay quiet until the other person realizes they messed up and apologizes. That's when Ryan's voice got really serious. He told me that was actually a form of emotional manipulation called the silent treatment, and it was pretty toxic behavior. He explained how it builds resentment and teaches people to walk on eggshells instead of actually communicating. He said healthy couples talk through their problems instead of punishing each other with silence. I honestly had no idea this wasn't normal. For 13 years, I thought this was just how relationships worked. The first few times Ryan and I had disagreements after that, I felt so uncomfortable trying to actually talk things through. It felt weird and exhausting to use my words instead of just shutting down, but slowly I started to see how much better it worked. Problems got solved faster. Nobody had to guess what the other person was thinking. We didn't build up all this anger and resentment.